Young Glory, formerly Invictus Gaming's sister team.
Yeah.
He was a very, what's the word I'm going to use? Flamboyant mid laner. He literally either goes off or he completely shuts down. He's very self-centered, selfish, about taking these hard carries and making the flashy plays.
I'm not sure whether flamboyant works, but it is certainly a fun word. As we are in a champion select.
I think of it as like just extremely stylistic and extremely flashy, and that's what he is.
That actually makes perfect sense, so I like it. I needed the explanation, though. As Jin and Rumble are going to be the first bans here for WE, Twisted Fate and Vladimir banned away on the side of Saint. Note that Vladimir has been reverted to his passive. Is no longer quite scaling as effectively for him. You can't just go full tank. His Q also a little bit of an adjustment, not going to scale, is going to scale more with AP, but not going to do as much base damage.
And already in these bans, we have Team WE correctly identifying and targeting the two best performing members on the side of Saint. That's going to be Acorn in that top lane and STYZ in that AD carry position. So the Swain, the Rumble, clear cuts at Acorn, taking away his famous staple pick, as well as the Swain, which has been very dominant a pick for Saint in this split. And then STYZ, it's not his Caitlyn, but it's next best on Jen.
It certainly is, and I believe this is the Rise patch as well, as WE are hovering it for the moment. See whether they are going to take that one away. I'll have to double check to see whether we're going to be teleporting around the map with this Rise currently. We'll see what WE decide to take away. Of course, things like the Trundle are open, but Rek'Sai is another one that does stand out, and this is Condi we're talking about, the man that played the start of this split, mostly Graves, and as soon as Rek'Sai was back in the meta, he jumped way on the bandwagon, and it is going to be the Trundle locked in here for 957.
Team WE, like Game Talent's one of the few teams that actually use Trundle as a flex pick between their support and their top lane position.
Yep.
More often than not, of course, Trundle is still finding his way into the top lane. So expect to see him go in the hands of 957, although, like you said, he actually hasn't played Trundle this split.
He hasn't. This would be the first time, as Acorn is hovering the Hecker, and we mentioned it earlier on. 957 did struggle in the Demacia Cup against the Hecarim, but was playing Aurelia that time around. We'll see whether he fares better as the Trundle or potentially something else if Zero is going to pick that one up.
This is actually a really interesting second rotation from Saint, and the idea that you could use Hecarim as a flex pick right now to hide if he's going to the jungle or the top lane, but in picking it in tandem with Rek'Sai, which Rek'Sai, of course, already being locked in, this 100% already showcases, yes, it is a Hecarim that's going top lane.
Well, we can certainly see that, given the fact that he already has those Hecarim summoner spells. 1 second to go, and Acorn going to lock that one away. So back on the horse, feeling very comfortable, I'd hope, just given his lineage with the champion. And now WE looking at a bottom lane and just going to lock that one away instantly. WE know exactly what they want here, and no Karma to be picked up. They want the Braum.
Giving it a bit of anti-siege. I like the fact that, again, since Hecarim has already been showcased that it's going to the top lane, WE are fine to pull the trigger to put Trundle in the top lane and no longer use him as a flex pick, but also hide their jungle mid duo, which is probably far more important in the current meta than your bot lane duo in terms of control around the map early. But since Karma wasn't picked up by Team WE, it makes sense that Saint would actually go that direction to counteract the Sivir movement speed and also empower that Hecarim to hit like a truck.
Yeah, damn right. Of course, STYZ does often have his Caitlyn banned away from him, if we remember. The man's played it 5 times, has found the most success on that champion, was hovering it for a moment, and we'll see exactly what he does decide to go to here as he's going through a whole host of his options. Karma looks to be the option here, as of course WE can still lock that one in if it's not taken away here, but it is going to be, and that's the bottom lane of Lucian Karma. Locked for Saint already.
A lot of dueling potential coming out of this bottom lane, so we'll see if Team WE actually initiate a lane swap. Surprisingly, they're one of the fewer teams to pull the trigger on that. They typically look for standard lanes and, again, kind of neutralizing or slowing down the pace of a game, keeping the map relatively closed up, and scaling up with their compositions.
We'll see what WE actually decide to react with. As Zero is just hovering some fun champions, and Elise being looked at here by Condi. Do like it, a lot of pick potential. We mentioned the mobility boots change, and Elise can benefit from that a lot. Get around, get to all of these different lanes, gank them early on. The Gragas would make some sense as well. Of course, we've spoken at length about Gragas into Rek'Sai. Doesn't do too bad. Parley is going to be locked in here by Otto. The extra range that you have on the Rise makes the laning phase quite difficult. We saw Rookie play fantastically well, actually picking up the first Talia win in the LPL so far, and finally, mid lane is starting to catch on to her power.
So Talia excels at kind of two very cool things. She has a ton of wave clear that's built out on her kit, and she can actually take control of a lane very early with her Q. Yep. So getting that really strong push, something that we normally only see in picks like Azir, and shoving people underneath their tower and causing quite a bit of poke damage. But she also has a really cool mid-game power spike. Falls off a little bit, but if you're able to use...
And here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the riff for game number 1 between WE and Saint for our first match of Week 6. First Dragon is going to be an Infernal Drake as well, so we're definitely starting off pretty heated here on the riff of the LPL, as Otto, going to fall into the same category.
Otto, much like Rookie, was kind of renowned and very well known for his mechanical ability as opposed to like synergizing with teams or being more of a team.
The effectiveness of her kit and what it offers.
Naturally having a lot of those displacements, having a semi-global reach on the ultimate for splitting up team fights, and that's for wave clear to kind of get Ryze up and online for his big 4 items. So this is going to be your Rod of Ages, your Archangels, your Void Staff, and then what we like to call the GGGA.
And then, yeah, of course, possibly something like Rabadon's Death Cap to round things out. Ryze's build feels pretty standard, but when you get there, you can understand exactly why, because it's really, really difficult to deal with. GA, of course, will have to sustain through a lot of this harassment, as STYZ taking a lot of damage from Mystic, but he's also answering back very nicely. Ricochet's coming down, and Mystic has to go through his potion already.
But we should expect this from the likes of the Lucian and the Karma lane. A ton of dueling power, obviously a range support versus a melee support. We've seen some Braums being able to outplay the Karma lane if they're not paying attention to standing next to creeps and giving Braum a free W to the creep and then quickly tagging that auto attack, following it up with the Winter's Bite. But Maidong is having none of this.
He most certainly is not. Zoning this WE bottom lane away from the creeps. Nice Qs coming out at the same time to get rid of Mystic. So we'll see whether they weather the storm, whether they're going to call for Condi early on in this game.
And this is pretty stereotypical of Team WE. They just need to survive their lane phase. They're not the greatest laners. It's part of the reason why they find majority of their success late game with their ability to team fight, with their ability to work around each other. And this is exactly where Saint thrive. Again, they're a roster that's made up of a lot of retired pros who kind of came back into the scene. So they have the mechanics and the understanding of how to run a lane phase. It's just getting them to work together that a lot of the problems start to arise.
Yeah, so we're thinking that Saint should be able to find themselves some success here in the earlier stages of the game.
Oh, stylistically, for sure.
And Otto not going to find his first seismic shove here in the mid lane as we check in. Xie has been farming out fine. You're going to expect him to fall a little bit behind.
My concern for Saint is that they typically do fairly well in their lane phase, but they kind of get desperate. But hold on, because Condi's actually making a play.
Yeah, lands it, and Xie's going to throw down all of his abilities. First blood goes to Condi, and that looks all too easy here for WE.
It's just that eagerness, you know, being pushed forward, laying down the damage, just wanting to beat your lane opponent and not being conscious or aware about how the map plays as a 5v5.
Now as well, we have a potential dive being considered here. Mystic, only level 3. Will have the spell shield and doesn't get hit by that piercing light. And
what can really empower us is that they know Gragas is on the top side of the map, but choosing not to pull the trigger on this as they've been spotted out.
Yeah, back things coming in, so WE know exactly what's going on. Know exactly where March is.
Should be noted, though, that in that last exchange for First Blood, that Xie did burn the Flash, whereas Otto didn't get a chance, didn't burn any of his summoners, so still not in the worst-case scenario and right back to shoving.
Yeah, getting these waves all the way pushed up. So that cannon creep is going to die to the turret. Xie extraordinarily upset about that. But of course, March, no gank opportunity there as he hands over a blue buff to Otto.
Talia is actually incredibly punishing to lane against, especially when farming underneath tower, which is why it's going to be such a hardship for Xie early on. He's doing a good job compensating for the CS, but there's actually a slight lead as the waves even out in favor of Otto, simply because he's able to poke you underneath the tower with his Q, as well as his, what's that rock turnover?
Yeah.
Pancake rock?
The pancake rocks. Let's just throw that one in there. As Condi now looking to try and make his mark towards the bottom side. There is going to be a ward there, but Saint may not be able to get away in time. Ping's going to come in immediately. They know exactly what's going on. Raptor Sense is going to proc for Condi. He's going to be able to clear out the vision.
Got some extra experience for clearing out that ward because we're on 6.13.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
10 CS advantage here for STYZ at this point on the Lucian. We'll see whether that is going to extend or whether Mystic can even things out.
And look at how much respect Otto is actually giving to Xie right there. He's been constantly pushing in. He's got the blue buff, but because Condi was spotted bottom on that ward, immediately playing to his strong side of the map, not daring to step forward despite having his flash available.
Yeah, now Xie even able to put down his own pink ward. Clears out the vision that Otto has around the area as Acorn getting aggressive on 957 with that level 6 advantage. March taking away a Gromp. Condi moving up towards the top side as well. Hasn't been seen by too many. Very excited for a potential kill as he pops that ultimate. Will get that Rune Prison eventually, and the body slam goes over. Xie delivered the kill.
Yep, Condi just setting it up with some nice CC and passing that along.
For WE. Have been flexible. We've seen Mystic be able to pick up that mantle quite effectively, but Xie now on the power pick. We're going to see whether he can make it work, and I have a feeling he's getting relatively close to that Rod of Ages now with that kill and assist.
It's kind of back to basics for Team WE, as we did see Condi walk into the mid lane, threaten with that cast now that he is level 7. But this idea that we're playing a 5v5 AoE composition, Mystic has the big, hard-scaling late-game champion, and we now have a skirmish.
He goes in
with the movement speed augment by Karma, so great setup and response.
Yeah, still with some control over this lane, however, as March got all of his health back and will just yell himself back to the bottom side jungle of WE. Not too much to gather there, though, as Condi does like to keep it pretty clear.
But they've got complete control over this bottom side of the jungle, and they're constantly...
4 men collapsing onto 0. This is a nightmare for WE. They're just looking to try and trade, pick up as much as they can after their bottom lane falls.
Team WE's early game has always been incredibly suspect. They like to play towards those late game win conditions. Typically, they're able to minimize losses by responding in very defensive manners. But right now, Saint are just setting a breakneck tempo and pace to this game and beating Team WE around every corner.
Well, apart from potentially that mid lane where a 20 CS lead has arisen for Xie, who teleported in order to get himself back in. 957 now, knocking down this top outer turret. Let's have himself a slight CS lead, but actually it's pretty much nothing as Acorn looks like he's building towards a Trinity Force. Ravenous Hydra potentially for 957, unless he goes for the Titanic variety.
That said, when everything is all calm,
yeah,
there's still only a 1k difference between these two teams, which is entirely in the tower gold. So Team WE is still in a fine spot, especially for their hyper-scaling composition that the likes of Sivir and Ryze can do late game.
Yeah, they're probably still comfortable. Of course, WE used to being at about this deficit in the early stages. Now Maidong a little bit unlocked. Now moving towards the top side of the map. As you can see, STYZ wants to shove down this outer turret, continue this potential global snowball.
It's moving their control also towards the top side of the map while they have a window of opportunity when the dragon is not up. So doing a good job identifying which objective is...
GA, who's looking for the Q, gets it with the E. And WE easily able to feed their Ryze another kill.
Exactly. So while Saint are kind of winning or taking slight advantages in these side lanes on both the top and bottom, the mid lane is completely lost right now. That's a Ryze who has his Rod of his Roa already built up before 12 minutes.
And I feel like, you know, it's like WE have gone on a holiday, and Xie has got like the deluxe suite, and Mystic is like, why am I in the broom closet? Like, this is not fair. Getting all of the attention, all of the kills, all of the money, everything going well for the Ryze. We'll see whether the Civ is going to be able to get his way back in there.
Well, it's also a tendency to be a beaut.
Maybe over this ward, looking to try and steal away this blue buff. You can see Xie making his way over. WE has a lot of vision themselves. Zero's going to make his way down first. Condi all up in amongst it already. That is a 4-man collapse as March gets a decent knock up. The rest of Saint now moving over. They want to actually find something here as the teleport's coming in for Acorn. He's got the Onslaught of Shadows. It's a really nice ultimate from Zero, and the Weaver's Wall not quite doing enough. Xie right in there, able to kill the Rek'Sai in a matter of seconds as Maidong, there's the auto attack. Concussive Blows comes down. Can they finish this one off though as Condi gets in there, and it is going to be Xie picking it up. And this Rise is becoming a big deal. 957 even in here now as Otto in no man's land. Pillar goes down. It's looking more and more difficult. Seismic Shove, I mean, it's a good idea, but 957 is able to lock down that kill, and WE starting to shine.
So Otto does pick up a courtesy kill on the back of that Condi, being a bit too aggressive, walking into Talia's threat range. But what's super important to illustrate here is the fact that Acorn had the teleport and 957 did not. 957's TP just came back up, but I believe he actually canceled Acorn's TP.
Aha.
So that troll not only beating the horse to the fight on the back half of it, but also making sure that it wasn't a 4v5 disparity over that blue buff. Huge props to 957 fight, whereas a lot of Saints members went down kind of staggered, so they were able to get their death timers out of the way, come back and get in position for their Sinfernal Drink, and Team WE just not responding. Now, Team WE, they're great at late-game team fighting, but they're now going to have to late-game team fight against 2 scaling Infernal Drakes.
Yeah, 16% extra flat damage statistics. That is terrifying, especially against the likes of Lucian and Hecarim that do much like having a bunch of extra AD. Hecarim even can benefit from that AP a little bit,
Curious,
although he won't have any.
Well, curious what kind of itemization Acorn's going to go for. Typically, we see the Trinity Force into tanky stats.
Yep.
Sometimes, though, Hecarim's get a little bit greedy and go for double damage, as now in the mid lane.
Yeah, STYZ dodges out of the way of one of the Qs as Maidong not going to be able to get that snare off. Look at the damage out of this ride.
Right now, because both the side lanes are up, it means that the most important objective for Saint to siege on the map with Dragon down is going to be that middle tower, which is why Otto is setting up for the dive.
Yeah, Weaver's Wall comes in. Teleport coming down as well here for 957 as Acorn going to take a lot of damage. Zero as well, having to flash away. Maidong's going to disengage. It's a couple of ultimates, actually 3 used already here for Saint, and WE going to take this advantage and push it up the mid lane.
Exactly, just so good at minimizing and softening every blow and then turning that tempo and that momentum around as they now catch out.
Yeah, they're looking for it. Don't actually commit too hard. As Mystic trying to do some damage to the turret, but it is cleared. And Saint hold on.
Pretty much what Team WE have been doing right now is just slowing down the pace of the game and trying to allocate side lane farm into the appropriate resources. There's still a CS discrepancy between STYZ and Mystic, as well as Acorn taking that lost tempo in the mid lane and just trading it for 2 waves for himself to even himself back up with 957.
And you can see Condi now as well looking for the Hecarim, but difficult to catch up with is that guy. He's relatively quick. He's now Mystic going to collect the wave that he delivered.
If you execute your cooldowns correctly, Rise is still a mid-range mage. It's a little bit scary to dive him against his burst, his AoE damage, and his CC, but they have the Onslaught of Shadows. They have the, what is it, Seismic Toss?
Yeah, the Seismic Shove.
They have the ability to kind of sweep him out from underneath his tower. They
And
just need to execute on
it
it.
as well, you know, and lots of snares coming out of Maidong at the same time. AoE shielding from the Karma and STYZ, relatively mobile as well.
They just
low range.
burnt all their cooldowns. It didn't work, and then Team WE get this minute and a half, 2-minute period to just kind of sit back and continue to eat up all this farm on their hyperscaling comp.
Yeah. And it is 2 Infernal Drakes, so Saint will be able to make up for some of that lack of scaling. Hecarim, of course, scales very well. Sort of the Talia and the Lucian, especially with this particular Lucian build, we might be throwing question marks at. But it's all down to execution in the end. The difficulty is WE love late game execution. Saint haven't really managed to get through too many late games so far in the LPL.
Yeah, and don't even have the gold advantage despite having 2 towers, which is pretty detrimental because that means a single team fight Team WE take, they immediately have a massive gold lead because it should translate into 2 structures.
Yeah. Also, Acorn just finished his Trinity Force and is now losing trades to 957, whose Trundle is becoming pretty gigantic. Has himself that Kindle Gem at the same time, building towards the Spirit Visage. Extra CDR is helpful as STYZ spots himself this ward eventually. We'll be able to take that one down. You can see Moby Boots were picked up by Maidong. Not Zero, however, who's decided he wants more combat movement speed. And Shea going to take the first turret for WE, granting them their first gold lead.
Yeah, amassing the gold lead, and again, they still have one extra tower standing on the map that Saint do not, so theoretically should have a 1k gold lead if they win the next team fight.
Yeah, and WE easily able to clear out this minion wave here as well. I mean, the beauty of Sivir, am I right?
It's cool also that they're allocating their Rise into the top lane in terms of lane assignment, simply because he is so powerful right now. And Saint actually run into this big problem where if Hecarim can't 1v1 the Trundle and no one can go near that Rise, Team WE have complete control over side waves if they choose to exploit that.
Well, you can see Dragon's going to be up in another 45 seconds or so. I believe it is going to be either a Mountain or an Infernal. Didn't get a good look at it, but I have a feeling it might be third Infernal.
Definitely a Mountain.
Definitely a Mountain?
Definitely a Mountain.
All right, thank goodness.
I'm pretty sure that image is incorrect.
Ah.
I mean, I was excited for the triple
dragon.
Infernal.
That's just a dragon image. I don't actually know.
It's definitely an Infernal image. It's okay.
All right, good, good, good. Well, Shea going to be taking down this blue buff and going to do so pretty quickly there as he throws the Q at it. Now going to head up against Acorn. Of course, will at least be able to run away from the Rise. Not sure whether he's going to be able to kill him.
He's got his Kindle Gem. He's ready.
Well, he doesn't quite have any magic resist, is what I'm worried about.
That's an issue.
Noted, noted.
Especially against 2-item Power Spike Rise.
Yep, Seraph's Embrace transformation coming in as well, and almost has that Void Staff. Another 1800, and he'll have that one. You're exactly right, that Mountain Drake. Now sitting there in the pit. Insane. Had so much control over this dragon area, of course. Shea can at least find some room, look for a teleport, and he will be able to get right into the middle of this battle at the same time.
This is the team fight. Both top laners are backing away,
yeah,
and here comes Shea.
In goes Shea as Otto's going to get caught out immediately. That shove is massive, though, and the kill is going to be answered. Both mid laners already dead as 957's going to get eliminated. Acorn is launching himself over WE right now as March looking to head back and ultimate back into this fight. It will be a numbers advantage for Saint as they're going to turn back to this dragon. Could be potentially dangerous as now March is going to come in and WE have to back away. Fantastic fight from Saint.
And big thing was the fact that Acorn, yes, late to the fight, but Shea got a little bit overconfident, ran to the front lines, and just got blown up. And once that Rise is dead, that's a huge portion of power gone from Team WE's 5v5.
Yeah, and it was on top of March as well, who got the most massive knock-up at the beginning of that.
Really good layered CC right in the middle of Talia's AoE damage as well.
Yeah. So maybe not going to make that mistake again as now Mystic looking to pick up this wave.
But this is now becoming a bit precarious for Team WE. Yes, they still barely hold their gold lead, but they've now given away Mountain, Infernal, and we call them the Elder Drake team simply because they like to take teams past 35 minutes. If Saint ever get a hold of that Elder Drake,
oh yeah,
that is an uphill battle.
It's a bad news story for WE. However, 957 getting tankier and tankier as this game goes on. As soon as Acorn builds some tank items, we'll be able to shred those statistics, make himself even bigger. And that came down a lot to teamfight execution, which is something that WE are normally very good at. However, this time, not able to find it.
Trundle not being as effective as he could be.
Yeah, true.
957 has done well, actually, in his lane phase and also in the side lanes, showing up to team fights on time. Not a champion. He's showcased a lot in the LPL. This is his first time playing it.
Yeah, in this split especially, so...
And he team fights a bit differently than the likes of Lysandra.
Yeah, it's true, and he often has a massive impact on these team fights and can turn himself into a real peeling top laner.
It's that flexibility, exactly. The fact that he can be used as a disengage. I mean, obviously, Lysandra wants to go into the back line. Trundle, likewise, can throw down his W, looking ready to carry, and I'm the captain now.
Yeah,
and run and smash him in the face.
Difficult against a Ghostblade Lucian, though, you have to say. So, going to be on 957 to try and slow him down with that pillar. Lock down STYZ, who did the most damage in that last team fight.
Well, that also showcases the reasoning behind the Lucian. The Trundle was the priority pick reminder.
Yeah.
And he had the opportunity to go for a low mobility AD carry again. The likes of Jhin and Ashe have been
Caitlyn, of course, as well.
Yeah, Caitlyn have been dominating the LPL, but choosing Lucian, having the ability to relentless pursuit backwards and to kite while doing damage in response to that Trundle priority pickup.
Well, you can see this outer turret is going to fall down. Extended gold lead here for WE as they pull it to about 1200. Acorn looking to try and respond to it here on the top side of the map. It doesn't have too many creeps, and 957 is going to make his way in. in time to deny that one away.
You can't catch that horse.
Nope.
Obviously, if he's ever put in a really sticky situation, he would just use his Onslaught of Shadows to gallop to safety. And so he's got great chip damage on these side towers as Saint, again, taking control of tempo and trying to push down this mid tower.
Well, in goes Condi here as well. Nice Unbreakable from Zero as the Weaver's Wall is going to come over, but STYZ caught out of position. Teleport coming down now for 957 as the Weaver's Wall didn't break anyone apart. Condi down below half health, but is going to survive for the moment. 957 on disengage duty with the Pillar. WE are going to be able to weather this one underneath their turret one more time.
So good news is that they do manage to burn the Summoner, the teleport down on 957, but miscommunication from Saint. Again, it's about using the Weaver's Wall, setting it behind the tower, and then having Onslaught of Shadows come rocking underneath them. Acorn hasn't pulled the trigger yet, might look to now.
Yeah, we'll see whether he actually does use it. Of course, still full health for the big burly tank. Now with a couple of items, but you can see WE just push them away.
For once, Saint actually just disengage from something. Typically, they're chomping at the bit,
yeah,
and they're just so excited to go, and then they kind of fumble the execution, trip before the finish line. This time around, Acorn's like, I'm not really feeling this one, guys.
Yeah, not this time. You can see now, Acorn getting caught by the Rune Prison actually has to use the ultimate defensively here as 957 right in amongst the fight, but has the Subjugate. Look at the ultimate out of Zero, doing fantastic work, and Mystic's untouched right here in the back line. Otto taking a lot of damage, and Saints now on the run. 957 maybe a little bit overextended as Otto's going to pick up the kill. And WE now with a man disadvantage. And Saint are just going to back away.
And the fact that Saint were able to win that fight in the end, despite using the Onslaught of Shadows defensively to disengage Acorn as opposed to across 5 members, huge props to the fact that Saint have so much damage when kiting backwards. We already talked about, Lucian, one of the few AD carries that as he runs away from you, if he has his culling, he can pretty much half health you. Talia in the very same boat, as she kites backwards using her worked ground and her Q.
Yeah, exactly. Now you can see, blue buff is going to fall to Otto. So he's going to successfully steal that one away in the end. Now S2YZ looking to try and get some cheeky auto attacks on this outer turret in the mid lane, but it is going to stay alive, considering the fact that Mystic does do a lot of AoE damage in order to clear that one out. WE still feeling okay. Those dragons are really starting to mean something now that there are big stat numbers coming in for Saint.
And you have to think this kind of goes back to Team WE not executing correctly against the likes of Saint's comp. If they do so much damage while disengaging, it's really up to Condi to pull the trigger on a nice cask and just force one of them to fight him.
Well, of course, Mystic's a bit of a time bomb here. When he does have that Infinity Edge, as soon as the Saint roster are grouped up like they were last time, I don't think they could take that many 700 crits to their faces.
But Xie is actually really dependent on the Hunt ultimate to actually get into range to do anything.
Yeah, true.
So Saint, I'm not going to say that they have an anti-dive comp, or it's really hard to dive back onto them, but they do have the augmented mobility of Karma. And then again, just constantly kiting back with Lucian and Talia. If you do manage to get on top of them, you have the Hecarim, you have the Rek'Sai, you kind of have other threats that say, we are ahead, now pull the trigger on the engagement.
We can see Otto moving down to this outer turret on the bottom side of the map. Could be dangerous here as Xie does have the ultimate, is going to pop it there as there's the flash after Condi. Fantastic body slam comes in and gets the slow. Seismic Shove does do a lot of damage to Mystic, but it's not enough, and they get the pick. Yeah,
they do manage to get the pick, but we'll see if Saint actually translate this into anything across map, and it is going to be the Baron.
Yeah, immediately started teleport coming in from Xie there, and 957's already around the corner. This Baron's at about half health, but WE are right into this pit as Acorn gets exhausted as he ults, and Xie is kiting back so beautifully. Zero gets to stand behind him, but he will fall down as March picks up the kill, but they're taking so much damage. Xie is going to fall, and Saint collapse beautifully. The target prioritizations there, they get the shields from the Karma, and Mystic has to run, but Acorn says no. Trying to kite him, may actually die here as the Boomerang's not going to find the damage, and Condi doesn't want to overextend. However, Saint moves straight back to the Baron.
Team WE do manage to push them off, but for how much time, as the teleports are actually being called right now. Acorn's resetting his position just so he can TP back and assist his team.
Yeah, Condi looking for the miracle steal, known as the son of Baron, of course. They do have vision now cleared. The WE's Acorn gets over the side. STYZ just dashes over. Body slams there for Condi, but STYZ once again with all that cooldown reduction, not quite able to lock down the jungler, as the Baron will fall in favor of Saint, and Condi Yeah, I don't know whether he's going to survive this one. Decent slow comes in, but the Baron's going to fall, and there goes the Gragas.
And in the end, Saint play that beautifully, making the call to disengage off of the Baron to take the numbers advantage, shove Team WE out, win that team fight, and then immediately pull the trigger on their teleports to get themselves back in position full health. But let's take a look at this team fight. So the thing is Team WE, they don't need to go so hard on this. They just need to pull Saint off of the Baron, but because they go so deep, they just take ridiculous amounts of damage as Saint make the correct call, pull off Baron, and just smash 3 members.
Yeah, and Shea was using all of his damage on the horse, who was more than happy to take it, honestly. And without the 80 carries there, it just wasn't enough here for WE. They do get themselves another dragon at the same time. So Baron, 4 dragons, 2 of them being an Infernal, 1 being a Mountain. This Saint roster, I mean, if there's a game you can win, it'll be this one.
We've also talked about how Team WE are having such a rough cross-conference. They've fallen to Game Talents, which was a surprise, Snake, that wasn't so much a surprise, and also dropped a map to an underperforming Invictus Gaming. Dropping a map to Saint here might be the nail in the coffin.
Could certainly be. They were having such a good run before that as well. I mean, taking down OMG, IMA, LGD, Vici, one after the other. Condi's going to be able to save his red buff. But that's a consolation prize at best. Here as Saint have so much control, despite there not being too much.
35 minutes.
Yeah,
that was literally on the dot. They roll the dice, Acorn chooses the Trundle, and 957 plays that team fight out beautifully, understanding how to disengage and force area of control with the Trundle, a pick that he hasn't played before.
It just feels good to get the identity of a team right, doesn't it, Frosco?
Yeah, except Team WE, they caused me...
Sing, Frosco.
I'm just going to send them the first 30 minutes of this VOD, and anytime Spawn's like, oh, but WE are my favorite team, I'm just going to be like, here.
Here. And it says footage not found after just before that team fight, of course. It's 2,000 gold now for WE in the lead.
It goes right up to the moment where Heckram just galloping and he's got the TP, and right before he hits Trundle, it's like...
And it goes slow-mo and then fade to black. Beautiful. Zelda Drake now looking at Saint as they're looking for a potential steal away here under full vision of WE.
That's the cutest thing. They're trying to be sneaky about it, but they don't have the vision denial as they stand on top of a ward. This is bad. And
there's no teleport for Acorn either, so he can't get himself into that flanking position. You can see WE, they just want to stop the dragon and continue shoving the waves.
Yeah, controlling the waves, and that's been the big thing for Team WE, and the fact that they win a single team fight, they have great side wave control and wave prep, that off of those single team fights, they take so much from it. Taking that inhib tower, continuously pressuring the mid lane, and then the dragon, so splitting their resources and making Saint now respond to them. So Saint, they pretty much had tempo this entire series until this point. Now Team WE, full control, cruise control, down the freeway.
Yeah, exactly right. STYZ is the last sort of saving grace here for Saint. He's got 6 items. Infinity Edge has been his final purchase. Doesn't necessarily need the last Whisper item, considering that Black Cleaver's already there to show the armor, which there is a heck of a lot of on the side of WE.
And I like the fact that he is picking up the eye edge, so he's not sacrificing crit in his penetration build.
Yeah.
That's kind of the big con against this build, is that by sacrificing crit, you can effectively half your damage.
Well, it does have that Phantom Dancer there as well to augment it even further. Has approximately 50% at this point, maybe a little bit more. There's Mystic. Crits that caster creep to death. Xie has the passive. Can't find Acorn. And Otto's in position around here. Not going to be seen by the vision just yet. WE regain control.
The Elder Defense Drake team.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what it has to be this game, with 4 dragons gone for Saint. Very scary. We see Xie's got 6 items. So
yeah, you can see the confidence in their itemization. You've got, I think, at least 2 GAs. I haven't seen 957 in a hot minute.
957 doesn't have one yet, but Condi and Xie both do. And they're going to start off the Baron. We'll see whether they actually stick on this one. As you can see, it's being pinged by Saint. Acorn, of course, hasn't moved down just yet, as March has a shield. He's getting over.
1 blue trinket now being used, which means that Saint cannot do that again. Their mid lane blue trinket is about to come up.
Otto, though, has teleport, is on the bottom side of the map. That wave that was prepped by 957, definitely good timing. As they start off this potential siege on the Baron Pit. Xie going to deal with this top wave, getting them even more control over these. As Mystic, that's a poor choice. So now he has to go back, and we'll see whether he purchases some sort of defensive item, what it's going to be, whether he heads towards GA or whether he's going to go towards something like QSS.
What's important about Mystic being forced back is that that's going to be the primary wave clear from Team WE, but Saint actually committing towards the Dragon. I thought for sure that Saint would use the numbers advantage to move into the Baron area or to apply pressure mid lane and then move into the Baron area, but they are heart, mind, and soul set on getting this Elder Drake.
And once again, right on top of the ward. Shia is already here. Weaver's Wall is going to block them off. They want to be able to lock down this Dragon where they can. It's going to have to be Condi getting in there for a steal. Otherwise, this could be a very difficult fight for WE to win. They do launch themselves into the pit. Condi steals it! Gets the extra auto attack damage there, as well as STYZ gets taken down to his GA very quickly. March, halfway through his tunnel, gets obliterated, and WE get 3 easy kills.
And frankly, it was a too early Weaver's Wall from Otto. It fell down just as the Dragon was being contested, and son of Baron, now son of Elder Drake. Condi comes up huge, time and time again, in high-pressure situations to make the smite. He gets the Dragon buff, denies the triple or 3.5 Infernal Drake, and Team WE may close out the game here.
Yeah, they're looking for it. Of course, no Baron, so these minions are still regular-sized. But WE have a lot of damage. Mystic is huge as Otto smashed back into the team, and Acorn, one more auto attack will stun him up, and he's just heading topside. These Nexus turrets are not long for the world, and WE, to their standard, hit 35 minutes and start making all the right moves to take down this game.
And yes, Team WE never really fell behind in terms of a gold deficit, maybe about 2K at most, but Saint were consistently setting the tempo in the early game, but Team WE, they're just too experienced on trading objectives, on minimizing losses, and allocating farm correctly to the appropriate power points. 35 minutes on the dot, they show up. This is exactly what we expected. And Saint, this is a hard loss. They played that early game very clean.
They most certainly did, and it wasn't just the early game there as well. There were a lot of really, really good points in that game for Saint. You are going to see a few of them here. Look at this team fight. Stunningly well played.
All of these team fights and all of these highlights are pretty much going to be Dragon, Dragon fight, Dragon fight, Dragon fight. The Elder Drake, mind, body, soul.
Yeah.
Saint wanted it, but it bit them in the ass. Team WE were able to fight so beautifully around that.
Yeah, and you can see, again, WE, I mean, biting off a little bit more than they can chew here, but the target prioritization was very good. They knew they wanted to take down the priority target, which was the Rise, got rid of him, and then turned to 957 once that subjugate had worn off. Just wasn't enough that he could do. And WE looking a little bit out of sorts with some of the fights that they were taking, but otherwise Saint looking good in a lot of these.
And this is the big turning point right there. The fact that Acorn went and turned on 957 did manage to onslaught her shadows into that backline, but then was immediately C-ski locked and just torn apart by Xie's Rise.
And you can see STYZ also couldn't do very much during that fight as well. I mean, it was a fantastic Glacial Fissure out of Zero, who is a fantastic player. And he doesn't get enough credit for a lot of the things that he does. As here's Condi, the son of purple monsters.
Just, it's so ridiculous how consistently he does this.
I know.
Like, normally, like, oh yeah, he's a super consistent jungler, but to be like, oh yeah, Condi, he consistently smite steals Baron and Elder Drake. It's just a ridiculous stat and reputation to have.
Most certainly is, but ladies and gentlemen, we are going to throw to a short break. When we get back, we'll see whether Saint can continue their early game aggression or whether WE can close this one out 2-0. Don't go anywhere.